This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results. Are you ready to feel the power?
Welcome to the Power Producers Podcast Latin style with my man.
Oh no.
Guillermo Vera.
Gracias.
Yikes. Yeah.
When's that coming out?
God, no, thank you. That's so funny, man. We have a little bit of a Latin flavor here at Florida Risk Partners, as a matter of fact.
Can you call it that?
Kyle's referencing when we brought Raphael in originally, it was to build our Hispanic-based business vertical. I thought it was a great idea until I realized that, like, these people devour their own young. Like, it blows my mind. Like, it's worse when you have – and I'm not even going to – I'm going to go off the political rails here for a second. But
yes.
I swear to God, man, the Hispanic people are more ruthless to each other than it is if I were to walk in and deal with somebody who's like a artisan contractor, or like we had one that was a Latin grocery store that he wrote, and that lady just raked him over the coals, but loved me when I walked in.
Brown on brown crime, man.
She knew I was going to crush that fried cheese and that salami, that Dominican salami, every time. Like, greatest thing ever. But anyhow, so what started all this, though, when he said, muchas gracias. There may or may not be evidence in HubSpot of a video of me speaking in Spanish for a prolonged period of time to our Hispanic business people. And
incredible stuff.
I ended it with a very, very forceful muchas gracias. And so out of everything, that's what everybody's taken from that entire thing. Not, hey, David's a really cool boss, man. He actually sat here and memorized a bunch of Spanish and spoke it and made complete eye contact with the camera the entire time. No, they're going to bust my stones about saying muchas gracias a little too aggressively. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a very thankful individual.
And you would do the same to anyone else. So
tenfold.
You know,
I could take it. That's the whole reason I dish it out. I'll take it. I mean, I'm a subject of a lot of tomfoolery and poking fun at it. So anyhow, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Mr. Guillermo Vera. What's cooking, man? How's weather down there? We're flirting with some storm activity here.
Are we? I mean, with the last couple ones,
they're way out there.
Okay. Last couple of weeks, nothing hit us. Weather's great. I mean, today's a beautiful day down here. Went home for lunch, and it's just nice, breezy. Sounds like a CoverGirl commercial.
Little overcast here up in the Land O'Lakes region.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, and this is something that I'm going to start drawing connections to. In late June of 2020, I came down with COVID. It was after I came home from Key West. Was walking across the tarmac from the old Silver Airways. I felt a little bit of a scratch in my throat, and I wondered, wonder if that has anything to do with that Sahara dust cloud that's hovering above. Then 2 weeks later, after sleeping continuously, I realized that it was more than that. But I will say, yesterday, 2 days ago, it started a little bit. Yesterday, it was really bad. Today, I'm like on the mend somewhat. Scratchiness in my throat, congestion. I'm supposed to be going to Key West this weekend. No fever, nothing else. Turn on the news, flipping dust clouds above us again.
You were being serious about that?
I'm being 100% serious. I think it's triggering my allergies.
What's with that Saharan dust cloud, man? I mean,
don't know.
seriously, like
Why is it
grow up.
targeting you?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Come
but
on,
why is
breathe
it like
better.
over the entire United States? My guess is the government has some sort of electromagnetic particles in there that are tracing it.
There it is.
Absolutely.
All right, conspiracy theorists, come out of your woodwork and email me, buddy. I'll meet you guys in Montana for a conference.
There you go.
So listen, man, you've been at the bunker for how long now?
2 years.
So why don't you talk a little bit about what you did prior? Because you basically came in as a relatively green producer, right? Like you had been in sales before, but different products. This is all new, right?
In a sense. So, I
Or
mean,
at least the commercial insurance part is.
yeah, no, for sure. It definitely is something new for me. I started in insurance when I was still in high school. I was working in the mailroom for an agency, an Allstate agency. Turns out it was Lewis Creva's agency, who will moving forward be known as the G.
Yeah, the
And
G.
the G.
You were
So
working at the G's mail room, huh?
G's mailroom.
What's that mail look like? What's that guy getting in the mail? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, all sorts of
Checks,
things.
big ones,
Big,
just
big fat
frickin'
checks, sloppy
Had
checks.
to get you a
Sloppy
wheelbarrow to haul them
checks.
around.
So I was there for some time, and then Ciara opened up her agency, a personalized agency, an independent one. So I moved over to there to work in the mailroom there because there was more to market, obviously, with an independent agency. So I worked on that for a little bit. But as every teenager, obviously I knew more than everybody else because I was in my teens that's when you know everything.
Here's what
And
I knew when I was a teenager. I was not going to work in the mailroom in an insurance agency. I can promise you that.
right, exactly.
Kyle had like 15 jobs when he was a teenager. Just ask him, he'll
Easily.
tell you all of them.
I'm right up there, Kyle. When I did the numbers the other day, I was like, oh, geez, I'm like 15, 16. I just did it. I mean, I started working when I was 14. But anyways, so from the insurance agency, I moved on I was going to school for computer networking because that's like kind of what my dad does. He's a computer systems engineer. And I got a job with Apple just doing all the installs for all the computers down here in the Tri-County area. Quickly, I found out that I did not like that at all. That was not for me. Didn't really fit into my type of personality. So I think every young guy hits a point where they just they think they want to be a firefighter. So I went through the EMT schooling. I went through Fire Academy. I started my paramedic program. I was working in an ambulance down there in Miami, and I did that for about 2 to 3 years, and I got hired by a company to sell medical devices internationally. It was a great opportunity because I was now young 20s, early 20s, and they said, look, do you want to make good money and just see the world? And I'm like, absolutely, I definitely want to do
terrible.
that.
Yeah.
Right. So
No.
it was get the training and go to conferences out in Europe, all over Europe, and then sell that to doctors in Central and South America and to hospitals down there. So I did that for
Now, were
5,
you
6
like in the ORs as well?
Yes.
I'm going to have to stop for just a second and ask this podcast to pause because I did something I shouldn't have done. I'm multitasking over here. And I just happened to glance over at my LinkedIn.
Oh, did Papa
There's an
Dukes?
absolute epic picture,
Oh,
thumbnail of a video from the bunker of the G just appealing to the masses with his hand out.
Oh yeah.
I might
I
have
just
to
went live
go
today.
watch this.
I am going to screenshot this and send it to you right now.
But
Who
so
wouldn't buy insurance from this guy?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, honestly, it doesn't get better than the G. It's cream of the crop.
I need to meet this cat.
That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Enough.
So you were in the ORs because I know I've got some friends that have done similar stuff where they're selling the medical devices like a full-on shoulder replacement or knee or whatever it is, and I would pass out, dude. I can't believe I didn't pass out when my son was born when my wife had the C-section. I don't know, I must have just blacked out for a second, but I mean,
pretty
there's
rough.
no chance you're gonna find me in an OR sitting there while they're jamming some freaking socket into someone's arm.
Well, it was interventional medicine, so it's a catheter through either leg artery or radial artery. So
Okay.
nothing's being opened up and like dissected. It's just a lot of it on screens. It was great, but then obviously after that during that I met the woman who's going to be my wife, and the flying around 1 week out of every month or 2 weeks out of every
Yeah.
month was a bit much. Didn't want to do that. So then change direction, got my 215, started working group health and life insurance and worksite benefits. And I was able to broker out a pretty good deal with with paychecks, and did that for some time until Ciara reached out and said, hey, the old agency is sold. Now we got the bunker.
We got mail coming in, buddy.
Let's, not as a mail guy.
I'm getting inundated with these sloppy checks. They don't know how to handle them. I need a specialist.
So what caused you to get the 215? Like, did something just, click or happen or whatever? Like, I mean, obviously, going from the medical device sales internationally to, to the health stuff, it's a little bit of a change. What happened?
Yeah, it was like a random opportunity. A buddy of mine reached out and said, listen, he worked there at Paychecks. He goes, we need something here. We do worksite benefits, but we're just sending it out to random people. Do you think you can come up with something better? So I did, and working with some other people that I met down here, we were able to change their enrollment platform from that of paper, which is everything is done with paper when it comes to group health, as most people know, and digitize it using the worksite benefits platform, which just consolidated everything. So that was a huge selling point, and not only that, but of course it was just kind of sold itself. I mean, these groups are huge, over 100 employees. It just worked out. It really did.
Cool. So now what are you doing? I mean, besides just crushing the video game for no reason.
Yeah.
I love video games.
Right? Video games. It's been working out pretty good. It's been a little bit of a grind. Obviously, everyone's had to change direction in the last year. And I was actually curious to see, how it was going for you, Kyle, when it came to drops, because, getting into the Killing Commercial program and getting all that sort of training and just starting to work on the drops, and all of a sudden COVID hits.
Yeah.
Boom,
No,
rug yanked right out from under you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it hasn't been going. It's something that is something that needs to be worked back in. But we've been we amazingly didn't really miss any beats when COVID started.
Here's the problem, man. I'm going to give you a one-word answer to our problem at Florida Risk Partners right now. It starts with M and ends with Arvin.
Yeah.
Marvin has just been crushing it. So
It starts with M.
we've literally
That was awesome.
Literally been just how many. I'm not even taking the calls myself anymore. I'm forwarding them off to the producers.
You send me almost one or two a day. So that's had a big impact.
Those are just the ones he's booked for me.
Yeah, exactly. And he's also booking some for me. So we've been busy, but that's my favorite thing to do in terms of prospecting and cold calling and whatever you want to call it, is the marketing drops. And, not really having any of that has been a change. But we've kind of adapted. It's on my radar for getting back up and running on that. But like David said, we're getting Marvin's setting a ton of appointments, so it's got to figure it out. But you look like you had something to say.
I just took the G off of my screen because every time I look over there, I imagine, based on him doing this, that he's wrapping up singing My Way by Frank Sinatra in Spanish. That's just what it looks like to me.
He's got the voice.
The G's bringing it home. He's bringing it home, and I can't.
I'm going to have to pull up LinkedIn immediately.
No, I just go check your email. I forwarded you a screenshot like I said I would.
But excellent.
Kyle, let's unpack this
Let's
for a
unpack
minute.
this.
Let's unpack the drop season or the drops protocol and see what's going on. Maybe we can troubleshoot with Guillermo here and see in real time kind of what he's
look at this guy. That's such a good screenshot.
One of those.
I love that guy, man. That guy, he is the best.
He is laying it down in whatever video that is. He's giving everybody the business.
I could take that picture, show it to any number of people, and convince them they've seen him on a cruise boat somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we unpacking? What do we want to do?
We're gonna unpack this for a little bit. We're gonna unpack the drop situation that Guillermo's facing because he's having some problems down there.
Okay. Talk to me. What's going on?
Well, I mean, we did pivot, right? So we can't just say drops aren't working, it's all shot. What we started doing now, and we've been organizing ourselves more and more, is 8 to 9 emails. CR has a rule that's when we answer emails and all that stuff, whether carrier's waiting on us or
Like every morning you're doing that.
right every morning.
Yep.
And then 9 to 12, which would normally have been drop time. And I'll just say, what I've seen out there. You go out there and businesses' doors are locked, doors are closed. The signage is very clear to not walk in unless you have an appointment. And I'll tell you, Kyle, obviously, big fan of the Shop Talk episodes. I've tried the thing where I walk in and I go, hey, your no trespassing sign is broken because let me write in. And it's worked. It's worked wonders. I get a laugh. I drop the collateral.
Right.
But you got to be careful, man, because especially with COVID right now, like
Yeah,
it's a little bit different than no soliciting, right?
Right. No. So that was before. That was like when it was calming down. When it's just a no trespassing sign. And I was going in there with a mask. I think I had a video out where like I was going out with a mask and gloves, and it was the whole 9 yards. I got the vaccine, had the card in my back pocket in case anyone asked. But regardless of that,
I'm not gonna lie. I may have a problem. I may have a problem with you walking in with a mask and gloves on, regardless.
Yeah. I mean,
you should just get one of those beekeeper
hands
suits.
where I can see them. Nobody move.
You should just get like one of those hazmat suits or a beekeeper suit or something and walk in.
I think that's a good point, though. I mean, it's definitely changed, and I think that walking in, and it's probably a regional thing too. Like I know down in South Florida, things are bad. They're worse than they are in Tampa. Not maybe by too much, but I think that there's just an overall, it's a different dynamic down there. So that definitely is playing a part in this.
Yeah. So we couldn't do that. Receptionists are not there anymore. They're on the VoIP system, so they're doing it from home. Decision makers aren't there anymore, and they're like, oh, she'll pick it up in a month or two. She comes in every once a quarter to pick up her mail. So what we've done.
They need a high school kid working in that mail room.
Yeah, where's that?
Yeah, for real. I'm like, let me see that mail room. We got to fix this.
Yeah, there's your lead-in, man. Take me to your mail room.
So you said you pivoted a little bit. What'd you guys do?
So using the Killing Commercial program, we have about 130 prospects that kind of fit our appetite, right? And what we've then done is video intros. So whatever collateral I was going to drop off, it's now just a video, and it's a shortly worded email, nothing too crazy. Just, hey, I created a personalized video just for you. Here's your password. Password is very focused on who they are, so they know it only applies to them. And we've gotten a lot of response from that.
Safe word is pineapple.
Safety word is pineapples. Yep.
So you gotten some response on? Okay.
Yeah. So
I like that though, because you can monitor it too, right?
Right.
You can get the analytics on whether or not it's getting open, click through, how long they're in the video,
right.
all of that.
So with Zoho, I know if the email was open, and then obviously with using the Advisor Evolved Quote Vids platform, I know if the video was watched. I have different buttons because it's not just a video. When it shows up on their screen, there's like 2 buttons. One of them shows them like what they get with the bunker. The other one talks about cyber risk, because we're really big into cyber liability. And then there's a button that says call me now, and if they click on that, it just sends me an email to give them a call. So that's worked out. There's people who, sure, it's a long game.
Really quick, I'm not gonna sit here and criticize what you're doing, because I think that it's 100% on point. I do have a question though. One thing, because we've done this before, I think that if people don't have an Advisor Evolved website, they're behind the curve. They should, and the quote vids are a huge tool, but not just for quoting, right? I mean, you can use them for landing pages and other things, and some of our most horrific video work was done early in Kyle's career at Florida Risk Partners, where we did a specific campaign on cyber and then put it in our email signatures.
Dude,
look,
I look like I should be in a cave in Iraq somewhere.
Right. I was getting ready to soften that a little bit and say probably not the best time to be making Taliban references, but that's what it looked like. It looked like one of those terrorist videos. The lighting was yellow. There was an
so
echo.
Bad.
I mean, everything about it was terrible. But
I looked so uncomfortable.
where I was going with that, though, and one thing you guys may want to do if you haven't done it, and you may be, and you just skipped over it, is embed your calendar in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So if
it's
they want to
in my
book time
signature,
with
but
you,
that's a good idea.
yeah. So what I did was I took my HubSpot calendar, and it was in there so that they could just see that my calendar was there and book a time to talk to me directly from that. So the way we did it, we were leading specifically with cyber. We had a Slick, if it was a customized one, we would do the vulnerability assessment and pricing indication. Then, the buttons that you have there inside of the Advisor Evolved QuoteVids platform. But, I did okay with it. I think that we would do exceptionally better now that I have like actual video equipment instead of the old camcorder that my dad used to tape my
what was
little
that thing
league
called?
Smooth.
I don't think it's smooth. It's definitely smooth.
It's got to be smooth, man, because it's about move and movement, and it holds your. I haven't seen that guy on Facebook in a long time in my news feed.
Nah, I don't know.
I used to
don't
see
even
him
know
all
who
the
you're
time
referring
selling
to.
that product. He's talking about one of those. Dadgummit, it's not a dongle. What's it called?
Dongle.
A dongle.
I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
I think you have to bleep that word.
It's a thing. It's
Dongle's
basically
my
like
safe
this. It's like it's almost like a GoPro holder that swivels and like pivots and follows you around so that the camera's always focused on
a
you.
gimbal.
Gimbal. Yeah, see, it did end in.
What'd you say? A dongle?
I said dongle. I mean, dongle's also.
Is it? I don't know. I've never heard of
thing.
either.
Hi, I'm Dongle. I'm a used car salesman.
Well, if you end up with a dongle in your mailbox, don't come blaming me for it.
It's from my mailroom.
Yeah. So anyhow, that worked for us. That may be something you guys want to look at doing as you're putting those out. Is encourage them even if it be subconsciously to book the time.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. So that's been working out. I've had a couple bites from people who just respond, decision makers, and they go, this is great. Reach out to me when it gets closer to that time.
I wonder. I mean, like the purpose of the drop, anyhow, is just to really get the information of who you want to speak with and develop a little bit of a relationship with the gatekeeper. I mean, we're not going in there trying to meet with the decision maker right then and there. I mean, if they're there and they come out and we can introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about it, that's great. But usually when they do that, I hit them with something like, hey, it's nice to meet you. I appreciate you coming out. I don't have time to, sit down with you and talk about too many things. I've actually got another 10 businesses that I've got to get to here before insert time. But I'd love to set up a time where we can, actually sit down and go through some of this stuff where we've got, 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to be back over this way next. And then I just try to set that appointment. I'm not trying to sit there and actually have a full on first meeting with them right then and there because I want to be prepared. So I don't see that, the route that you're going as anything different than that, other than you're sending them a video instead of you being standing right there in front of their business.
Yeah. And it's not the same video for everyone. Obviously I'm doing the research beforehand to see where they're at as a company, anything new. And then I congratulate them, or if I see something, bad on the horizon, I'll warn them. But something that's really important that we did, I think a month ago. So we try to do 15 videos, 15 calls a day, and then plus, whatever business we already have on our desk, work on that. And then Mondays and Fridays, I'm working on either the Zoho application or our marketing. So one of the things that we did for the telemarketing was call all the businesses just to confirm that the details that we had were correct, because I started to realize that because of COVID, a lot of responsibilities were shifted and people were no longer with the company. So my emails,
that's a good point.
My emails were falling on deaf ears, or empty, no longer active mailboxes. And everything, every mailer that we sent out, every phone call that I asked for, hey, is Kyle there? Kyle hasn't worked there in like 5 months. Oh, that's embarrassing. So we just called, hey, is Kyle still the one who handles the workers' comp? Yep, cool. And this is still his email? And if I didn't have it, I'll just make it up. Is it still Kyle at, frp.com?
That's a good point right there that I think a lot of people miss that I want to touch on. And I, in my conversation with Marvin, I use something similar where it's just you're kind of filling in the blanks for them, and they're either agreeing with you or not, because they're going to give you the answer even if you don't have the right information. So I think that's a good thing for people to jot down and take out of this is if you don't have their email or their right phone number or extension or whatever, make that shit up and let them correct you if it's wrong.
Yep.
Sneaky.
Exactly. It works really well. No, I said, where'd you get that domain from? It's actually Kyle at Florida Risk Partners. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Thanks. My bad.
I may or may not be over here using Google Translate to take the lyrics from My Way and put them from English to Spanish, and I'll close the show out doing my impersonation of the G.
Fantastic.
Best episode ever.
It's just not working out right for me.
Oh man.
So
yeah, I mean, I think the video piece is good. It's going to be interesting to see how many people actually come back into the real world.
Yeah.
Like in terms of how many, like the commercial real estate market is horrific at this point because there's so many abandoned offices. Like I just don't think a lot of businesses are coming back. Not that they're going out of business. They're just not coming back to bricks and mortar because we were forced to adapt. I mean, I think one of the best things that came out of COVID and one of the most reassuring things for me personally coming out of COVID was watching the American ingenuity and how people took and adapted to a bad situation and used what were probably primal survival skills
Yeah.
to be up and running.
I agree. And quickly too. Like it just forced everybody's hand.
Well, the example I always use is the ghost kitchens. That's a great example, right? All of a sudden, we have a restaurant here, Black Rock, that is like literally you cook your food on a hot black rock. Really creative name. But you have to dine in there to have that experience. Well, that business would have gone out of business completely. Instead, they took their kitchen, converted it over into what they call a ghost kitchen. They have like 5 or 6 different restaurants now, and the only way you can get them is on Uber Eats, but they've branded them all as if they're their own standalone thing.
smart, very smart.
And so I thought that was ingenious. And so they, it probably way more profitable too, by the way. You don't have a wait staff and everything else. Not that there's anything wrong with having, servers in a restaurant. It's kind of a necessary
But you can
thing,
still go into their restaurants though, I think.
You
right?
can now,
Yeah,
but back then when they were completely closed down by COVID, or even when you weren't completely closed down because of the way that dining experience worked, I think people were more apprehensive to do it.
Yep.
It would be like going to Melting Pot and everybody sharing a fondue thing, wondering if,
I don't even
Bob
get
had
the
COVID.
whole melting pot thing. It's just not for me. I'm not a big fan.
Me either.
My wife loves it, and I've never been able to get behind it.
Cook
Not a big
no.
fondue guy,
Boil your meat. Don't like that.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's gross, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I always worry like if I'm going to stick my fondue thing in there and come out with like a wad of gum on the bottom of it because somebody in the kitchen's playing a joke or.
Yeah, well, now the melted chocolate though, that's a different story. But like the food itself,
Of course it is.
not for me.
Yeah,
Dude,
melted
I
chocolate
feel like
and melted cheese are fine.
Yes, I feel
Yeah.
like every household should have 3 things in terms of mandatory, and they're all fountains. They should have a chocolate fountain, they should have a sausage gravy fountain,
Ooh.
and they should have a cheese fountain.
How does the sausage gravy fountain work? Because that's pretty thick. Pieces of sausage are going to get caught up in the spouts, and I feel like
I
that
don't
could,
have
that
the
could pose some
education or
issues.
I don't have the education or technical skill to pull that maneuver off. I'm sorry, I can't answer it.
Obviously,
I
this
just
is
want
a
it to
slow flow
exist.
fountain. We can't have just tons of sausages shooting out the top.
Right.
No,
Oh, that's.
I just figured you had given this some thought, because
no, I
you
just
had
made
an
it up
imme-
actually,
Oh, okay. Just
like literally on the fly.
Okay.
I realized that there may be some reservations to the development of a sausage gravy fountain, but I mean, a guy can dream.
Well, don't take it to Shark Tank just yet, but you'll get there.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm with you. The whole fondue thing's a little bit weird.
yeah.
So, I mean, what are you guys thinking going forward? Are you going to double down on this video thing? Are you trying to figure out like a hybrid model? Because I feel like we were getting really, really close,
Same.
and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean the times that we went out there and we were doing the drops again when things were starting to look better, that's when it started hitting those bumps. But it wasn't everywhere. It's all like you said, Kyle. It's all geographic. There were certain areas that you can just walk in and it was a fine conversation to have, and everyone was still social distancing, but within reason. And
Right.
then there was other places that kind of just gave up and decision makers gone. So now, yes, the videos are still a big part, but now more than ever, telemarketing is king. calling is king because the phones still go to them directly,
Right.
and that's really where it's shining through for us. And then so we're able to be talking to one of our killing commercial prospects now, one of these whales, and I love it when they say, "Oh yeah, the bunker. We've gotten your, we have one of these." Actually, no one's gonna see it on the
Yeah, they will.
podcast.
We do
No,
video
we can
too.
see it.
Okay, so we have the yellow envelopes which stand out because everything about us is our branding. And
Yeah, I was gonna say stop for 2 seconds. I want to tell people right now, if you're listening to this and you have not gone to bunkeryourrisk.com, that's your website, right?
yeah,
If you've not gone to bunkeryourrisk.com, do it immediately, and you're going to get a graduate level course on branding. If there's one thing that Ciara is good at, which she's good at a lot of stuff, but the touch and feel, the intentional thought behind the branding, the color scheme, every video that's shot, all of that is 100% spot on. And I'm somebody who enjoys the marketing end of things far more than I enjoy the insurance end of things. And honestly, I was really, really impressed with what you guys have been doing down there before we ever even knew each other.
yeah. Branding is everything. I'm almost military when it comes to how on brand something needs to be. If it's not black, white, or yellow, we're not touching it. We're not presenting it. Matter of fact, our new video setup, by the way, thanks David for the recommendation. That's what you see with the G now in that new video. That
Yeah.
yellow spotlight behind him, that's the yellow for that light. It looks too green, and obviously it's kind of grinding my gears, but we're gonna fix it. We're gonna change the light, and we just had to move on with
It
with
is
the
green.
process.
It's like a pale. It's like an olive green. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the yellow because there is a green. It's just greener. So
Interesting.
yeah, but it is what it is, and we just have to push out the content and just keep moving, right? Go ahead.
No, you forced me to look at the G again, and the guy makes me smile every time I see him.
He's crushing it.
I mean, he definitely brings life to the agency. It's one of the best things. Matter of fact, I think I have a little Cuban coffee waiting for me as soon as I walk out of my office.
Of
So
course you do.
it's great. It's great. And I've known her for like 16 years, so it's a great relationship that we have. So
Nice.
so going back to the thing about the videos and the touches, the constant touch, right? So the yellow envelope, the video, the phone call, the email. Now that we were able to talk to this whale lead, now it's they say, oh yeah, the bunker, yeah, we remember you. I remember getting a phone call, or even if it was just a receptionist, I remember your yellow envelope. I remember the video that you sent me, and it's really good affirmation that things are working. Business is still moving forward. It's just changed a little bit, but it's not dead by any means.
It's interesting because that stuff works, man. There's a reason why you need to take the extra time to do that. And you could put your stuff in a white envelope and send it and assume that it's going to get to where it needs to get to. But when you go to that level of detail, people pay attention to that stuff. I don't care what anybody wants to argue. If anybody wants to argue with me about this, you're wrong, period, because people do pay attention. The ones who don't aren't who I want as a client anyhow. But I can't tell you the number of times that, to me, that's the greatest validation of taking the extra 2 minutes, right? I take the extra 2 minutes, do it. It makes me feel good that I did it. But then when that person says, wow, you really put a lot of thought into this, you went the extra mile, everybody else would have stopped here, but here's where you took it.
Yeah.
And they
that's the
associate
best,
it.
man.
They associate that feeling when they're seeing this stuff. It's like when you see like a box, like a McDonald's fry, like you immediately, like you can smell it, you can taste it, like, and that's kind of what you're going for when you're creating that brand.
Please don't lick my envelope.
Yeah, this
Don't
is
spoil my
a
box.
yeah.
I've
it's a
worked
pull-
in
it's a
mail
pull
rooms.
and
Don't you
peel
know the
stick.
kind of bacteria that's bred in there?
But that's what you're going for. You're trying to create that recognition and that feeling, when somebody sees your stuff.
That's what I've never understood, though. I've never understood why people aren't willing to just take that extra couple of minutes to do it.
Because it's not. It's just that. It's an extra step. It's not something easy. People want easy.
I
They don't
think
see
it also has to do with you're scared of starting because what if
Yeah.
whatever you push out is not good quality. And if we go back to when we first started with the program, Killing Commercial, and we put out our first video, it was still in the middle of lockdown, right down here in Florida. There was I was in Ciara's living room on a yellow chair. The AC was on. You can hear it. It was recorded with an iPhone, and that was it. And I mean, yes, I'm balding, but I was balding more in 2020 with that camera angle I was using. It was terrible. Um, we then moved it over to the office. It changed a little better. It got a little crisper. Then just 2 months ago, we added a yellow background to our videos. Didn't really like it, and now we changed it again. So we're constantly tweaking it. But the important thing is to not stop. Just start, not stop. And there was a time, for sure, where like for 2 months we didn't record anything. Because we were kind of in our heads of we got to make it better. We got to make it look more like, Ryan Hanley, David Carothers. Got to make it look like Nick Ayers, Paradiso. Just get it done. Just get it done and just keep pushing the brand out there. I mean, we got a lot of brand advice because we worked with Kelly Donahue at Agency Partners at the last agency, and we really understood how important brand was. And one of the more important things about brands, besides just looking good, is being present in people's faces and constantly being out there. So you'll look at our videos now. I mean, I have a video coming out next week where the G was like, hey, why don't you try like a white V-neck and a black suit. Well, I tried it. I did 2 videos. They're going to come out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I look like Miami Vice. I'm not going to do that again, but it was done. It's out, and we're just constantly tweaking. Don't be scared to start. Just tweak along the way. You'll be fine.
Dude, you need to get with the yellow and the black. You need to get like a Troy Polamalu wig in Jersey, and you are Troy Polamalu, and you can be the risk management linebacker. I understand he was not a linebacker, but Terry Tate was, and he wreaked havoc on the office plays.
He did. And recent Hall of Famer. So
Really?
Congrats.
Dude, Terry Tate?
No, Palamalu.
Terry Tate, office linebacker? Why isn't that guy in the Hall of Fame?
He should be. I love it. Those commercials were so fantastic.
The better ones are the ones that are on YouTube that are the unedited versions.
Yes.
And my all-time favorite is when the guy, the derelict in the office, drinks the last little bit of the coffee and he puts the carafe back on the thing empty. And he's standing there with the hot feet breaking. Woo-hoo! Here comes the paint train, baby.
Yeah.
And just lines that dude up, man.
Those are so good.
There's definitely been conversation. The G keeps telling me, because we're into the networking now more than before, and he's like, we have to get you a yellow our brand suit, and you're gonna really stand out in the room and whatever. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear that.
Yellow, the banana suit is I don't know, man.
I'm not gonna be this guy.
No, that's a little bit of a stretch. I get it, but it's.
You know what you could do though? Truthfully, what you could do is you could get a black suit with yellow pinstripes and pull that off. They'd have to be light. Yeah.
And I don't know about pinstripes. Maybe checker. Maybe like the squares, like the window panes, pinstripes.
I'm gonna say, look, remember, it's got to be on brand. Yes, black and yellow's on brand, but it's got to be bold. I would say black with a yellow pitch stitch on the bordering, just subtle enough where it stands out, but nothing too crazy.
No, you need the thick chalk stripes too, man. Wide.
How about I just go in there with like war paint, just like half yellow, half black.
Well, you could be the ultimate warrior too. I mean, there's a lot of different things from a branding perspective.
I hope everybody's writing this stuff down, because this is
listen. All I want them to do is I want them to go to the website. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
If you go do that, you'll figure it out. These people have it. They know it. They know what they're doing on the branding game. It's on point, 100%. So let's switch gears for a second. Going into PNC now, obviously you had experience working in the agency in the past, but not necessarily as a producer. Had a little bit of sales experience in between. How much of your stuff from the med device days and all of that have you been able to transfer to what you're doing now?
So I figured I can talk to doctors who knew a lot more than I did and was still able to sell them because I had a good product. I feel that here at the bunker, we have a great product. And no matter the decision maker, as long as I know my stuff, I'm able to get through. So it's worked out pretty well. Matter of fact, a big part of what I'm targeting is life science manufacturers, because
you should down there for sure.
Yeah, and life science manufacturers covers a huge span of things, which I found out. It's not just medical; it's also beauty products and things of that nature. So I understand the process. I understand trying to get FDA approval versus the CE mark, and what goes into that, and the testing on clinical trials, on human testing. So all of that just kind of gives me even further insight as to what they're probably going through as manufacturers.
Yeah, the other thing is too, like, I've learned a lot going through the life science game myself, just in like all of the regulation and things that these companies have to go through. Specifically, like informed consent documents for the clinical trials have to be written at a 6th grade reading level.
Hmm.
And it forces you to really step back and look at your own communications and how you're structuring your sentences and things, because it always makes me wonder, maybe I should just write everything at a 6th grade level and more people will understand it.
Yeah. And there are things out there that exist when it comes to medical manufacturing, like off-label use. A doctor can choose to use anything for any procedure because they have the knowledge to. Well, how is that covered in a policy? It really goes on a case-by-case basis, but that's something that you have to look into in case a doctor could use a straw for a catheter procedure if he chose to. If he says, this is what I want to use, and no one can stop him. It's a thing in the industry to do so. So what kind of implications does that bring in a risk management standpoint? Who responds there? It takes a little bit more than just selling, the average insurance policy.
That's interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Kyle, you look like you're like really thinking hard, and I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you share what's on your mind? And I'm saying this cautiously.
Well, no, I mean, just listening to some of the stuff that he was talking about, I just thought that was interesting. Seeing how the policy would apply, given each situation can be so different. So I was just thinking of random stuff in my head, but I mean, you mentioned you guys had just got in with, one of your whales, so to speak. That's obviously a big win for you. Maybe talk about another win that you've had, recently, or just a good one that you want to share with everybody.
So I won't lie to you. When it comes to this type of whale hunting, it is a 2 to 3 year process.
Yeah.
And we've been, and that's one of the things that I mentioned early on in the forum for What Killing Commercial. I think back in like March, I did the numbers, and when I looked at what I was really doing about the process, what were we really implementing as part of Killing Commercial, it really only amounted to like about a month and a half, even though we'd been in the program for 5 months, because the consistency. So now that we have that consistency going, we're starting to see. So this first one came out. We've had a couple of other bites, nothing to really like bring into the boat, but just people were saying, reach out to me when the time gets closer, and I've gotten another one now that through cyber, sent them the quote vid, spoke to them a little bit, and they clean 2 large banks all throughout the state of Florida. All their local branches, they clean all of them. It's a janitorial company. So things like that are starting to show up now, but it did take some time to get there. It wasn't overnight. And that's one of the things that we've really had to wrap our heads around, because when it came to, the independent personal lines insurance agency, you're closing, 5-10 policies a day.
It's not instant
Right.
gratification
It's
in the middle
not.
market game ever.
It's
And if it is, then you need to be asking why. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Something's
look,
wrong.
I've been doing this long enough now, and I've had enough at bats that there are going to be times where things fall into your lap.
Right.
But you can't bank on that,
Right.
at all. And
I would say
so-
that was one of the bigger adjustments for me as well when I got done with the office supply stuff. Was I'd do anywhere from 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 sales in a day. And then transitioning into the PEO industry and then into insurance, that sales cycle is so much different. So that was a big adjustment. So I can definitely see your side of things from that perspective.
Yeah, and it does work. Obviously, I mean, when I work closely with Paychecks, we'd be closing 100-man companies one a week. But
Right.
of course, they have all this whole staff of telemarketers calling on X dates that they've had for 20 some years. So it's gonna happen. You're gonna get that point. Right now, it's still ramping up, but it's headed in the right direction.
Wait till the Dirty 130, baby. It's coming.
What is that?
That's
Say what?
that's my new book, man. I just made my announcement. My new book is publishing at the beginning of the year called The Dirty 130.
Okay.
It's the mind, body, spirit function of being a producer over 130 business days, which equals 26 work weeks. So that if you devote 6 months of your year, a half a year, you will change the trajectory of your career forever in commercial production. And
There
it's
you
100% about the habits, the consistency, and all of that stuff. And so
I haven't been on
that
Facebook yet today, so I didn't see that.
yeah, no, I announced it on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I think I may even have thrown her up on old Instagram there for no reason. But it's the whole reason I created that Power Producers Mastermind on Facebook is because when I did Extra 2 Minutes, I did it with a website. And what I found was I'm really getting inundated with people coming in that have read the book, they've got questions, they want some advice, whatever else. And so I decided this time, we need to monetize this a little bit. I'm happy to help the people that are serious, but look, you know who you are, people. There are some of you that will drain every second out of my calendar if I let you. And I had to stop that, man, with the health issues that I dealt with recently and everything else. I had to monetize that. And it's interesting, man, because I think that, a portion of the people in Killing Commercial were miffed that I was doing that because they looked at it as maybe I'm going to just be bringing more people in. Unfortunately, I think that they were probably extremely short-sighted to think that because, number one, why in the world would I give people access to something that is a high-ticket item for a tenth of the cost? I mean, that would be foolish to even think that I would go down that road from a business standpoint, let alone an ethical standpoint. And the second piece of it is they also don't understand the marketing process very well. And I feel like I've failed them in teaching that because you have to have lead magnets for different things. So if I have an offer that's 10% of what the enrollment fee is for Killing Commercial, that's a stair step. But eventually the goal is to push all those people into the regular community because that's where they're really going to learn everything they need to know. Not that they're not going to have the accountability, because they are. Not that they're not going to get content, because they are. But we're not replicating Killing Commercial for anybody other than the people that are in Killing Commercial. And one of the people just said, I feel like you're diminishing the value, and I don't understand why you would be doing this for other people when we paid thousands of dollars to get in and everything else. And my answer is really kind of simple in all of that. Using that logic, I would never be able to write a blog again. I would never be able to upload a video to YouTube. I would never be able to speak in public. I would never be able to do the protege. I would never be able to author another book. And by the way, I wouldn't be able to do my podcast. So the people that are concerned about how I replicate content, my biggest comment is we have over 10,000 people a month that listen to the podcast. Worry about them. Don't worry about a few people that are in a Facebook group that's designed to be a lead magnet to get into the community that we're in. And, it's to support a book that I'm coming out with that, by the way, I can't say, hey, guys, by the way, I'm going to release a book and I'm going to have a Facebook group about it. That's not how that works.
Right.
You create the mastermind, you build the anticipation to see what it is, then you announce the book. And I guess what? I got like 5 other announcements that are coming out. So when people look back and they see that I put the pieces to the puzzle together, the short version is, oh, David was right. We don't have anything to worry about. Now I understand what he's doing. I can't outline everything on the front end. And I guess, hindsight being 2020, I announced it to everybody that we were going to do this. And I also said, I'm adding you to this group. I'm operating in the full transparency of everybody that is in Killing Commercial. So if I were to pull one over on you, it's going to be right in front of your face, which is never going to happen. So it's just an interesting lesson in messaging and how you leak things out. And, we're all human. We learn from it. I don't fault anybody for questioning or trying to hold me accountable. I embrace that. Feel free. Step up and ask me any question you want, and I'll give you the answer to it. What I don't like is when people insinuate that maybe I'm doing something unethical, or more importantly, that I'm just a stupid business person, which is how I took it. Is why? Sure, I'll bring a bunch of people in and sell you something for a tenth of the cost. It makes all the sense in the world, right? Right. That's really where the rub is with me. Is that's just not even a good business decision to do something like that.
Yeah, I remember one time in the old agency, we went to see the Chris Paradiso training program up in, I think it was Connecticut. And somebody asked him, are you scared about sharing all of these things that you do to build up your agency and all these different, models that you've prepared over the years? And he goes, no, because not even 10% of the people who listen to this are going to do it. A big part of it is actually getting into it and starting at some point. And most people, I remember that G was telling us once that he did some time as a real estate agent, and they always hold trainings for realtors. In one of those trainings, the trainer had said, some of you, I keep seeing the same faces. And instead of going out there and selling, you're just sitting here and trying to learn more and train more. Stop wasting your time and start doing things instead of just trying to consume information and think and getting stuck in a little bit of a hole. So we really try to keep that in mind, that yes, the training is important, the education is important, and we're a big part of it. I mean, I call Ciara, I said she has the alphabet after her name because she has so many designations. She's put in the time, but she's also been in the industry for 20 years. She's had the time to put in. Education comes to a certain point, and after that, you have to get into action.
I actually had a guy from a carrier come into the office one time that had so many designations, they continued to the back of his business card. And I looked, and I'm being dead serious when I say this, I looked at the front of it and I flipped it over and I looked at the back, and then I looked at him and said, I just want to give you a sincere thank you for taking time away from your continuing education to come to an agency visit today.
Yeah,
like
I mean, that's,
at some point
absurd.
it gets to be ridiculous, right? I mean, and I'm not throwing off on Ciara because you're right. She's been in the industry for a while, and I'm of the mindset that if you can get continuing education credit and get a designation in the process, then I'm all for it. I'm just not really, even if I had 15 designations, I'd probably just leave it my CIC and CRM. Unless I have a CPCU, I may add that as well, but just not interested.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Not because I'm awesome, but there's only so much I can fit in my head, and it's already at capacity.
Yeah.
So what would you say the biggest surprise has been for you as you've come in?
Come into the bunker?
Yeah.
I think just the many intricacies of this type of business, especially when it comes to looking at commercial risk versus personal. I mean, personal lines is so cut and dry, and everyone does have a cookie cutter policy. And here, because we are, younger and insurance is an older game, we really make sure to really know what we're talking about. So we're constantly reading every single policy, no matter how big or small. And when you just get into the details of the minutia of the policy language, and you see whether or not something applies, and the client is always asking a different question if it fits something, it's different. It's different. It's a lot more dynamic than I thought it was going to be. And besides what we just said about it's being a longer game, it is a lot more dynamic, and it does require you to be more alert of what it is that you're putting out there to make sure that their doors stay open in case of a risk.
Give us a piece of advice that you would have for a new producer. Maybe, I know that was sort of along the lines of what you just said, but if maybe there was one thing that you kind of took away that you learned when you you have the knowledge of the personal lines and you're switching over into more of a middle market commercial role, give the listeners a piece of advice that they can hold on to.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is to really surround yourself with people who are willing to answer the questions and don't just brush you off. So that's one of the biggest perks is, if you're a producer in an agency and you're not the agency principal, I was pretty much blessed with an agency principal who got on Killing Commercial and in turn brought me in, and now I get to see this and I get this forum where I can ask any question, and there's 100 professionals, like true professionals that are ready to answer that. That's a huge step, to really surround yourself with the right people, really get some mentors in place. I have the G, I have Ciara, I have David here. And then also,
and I am a distant third to those other two for sure.
Yeah, but when we need you, you're very willing to.
My Cuban coffee game is weak, dude. The G would just turn his nose up. His facial expression would be the exact opposite of what it is in that video, which, by the way, would also be a very great thumbnail to get people to click on it.
Well, he can handle the coffee. If you can just get me a slab of ribs, I'd appreciate that.
There you go.
But
that
also,
I can do.
consuming some content every day. I mean, either listen to a podcast, read a blog, just besides reading the policies, consume content and just ask questions. If you don't understand something, ask questions. No one's gonna stop you.
Cool. I like it.
All right, people. They're black. They're yellow. They're the bunker. This has been Mr. Guillermo Vera, and we are wrapping it up. Until next time, we are redefining the sales game. And I really wish the G was here so we could just cut to him and let him serenade us on out for the rest of the day. But we're going to just have to imagine that in our minds. Really appreciate you coming on, man. Obviously enjoy the friendship and working with you, and look forward to just watching you guys crush it. You're on the right track. Just stay the course, and you're going to blow it out of the water. And honestly, if I was in South Florida, I would probably be a little bit concerned right now. So
Thank you.
Everybody have a great week. See ya.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.